What is up? And welcome into Post Loons episode 20 following a disappointing 0-0 draw at home against Sporting Kansas City. My name is Jeremy Rushing, breaking it all down with you here on the post game. If you could, as you are trickling into the stream here, whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, if you have any questions, comments on the match tonight, go ahead and drop those in the chat. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, feel free to give us that thumbs up as well. That would be huge. Thanks so much for tuning in following the 0-0 draw. Not the result Minnesota United wanted, especially considering you go up a man, very, very early on for the second straight match. And for the second straight match, you only come away with 1 point. That is very disappointing. A Groundhog Day situation, if you will, for Minnesota United fans. And unfortunately, this comes on national television as well. I think anytime your team competes on national TV, you want them to do well, to compete, to put on a good performance. When it comes to the shots, yeah, they did put on a pretty good performance, I'd say. But you got to put the ball in the back of the net at the end of the day. And Minnesota United was not able to do that. They really haven't been able to do that for a lot of the season. And that is where you end up with a 0-0 draw and that feeling of disappointment following your quote-unquote nicest rivalry in sports match with Sporting Kansas City. I think we can drop that moniker for good, as this game was a little bit chippy tonight. So again, thank you for tuning in. Drop a question or comment in the chat if you have any feedback or takeaways from tonight's match. Also, leave us that thumbs up on YouTube if you could. But now let's go ahead and get into our three things here. Just three big takeaways that I have from the match. My first thing, as I've already mentioned, 2 points lost for the second straight match. And the second straight match where you had 11v10 for a vast majority of it. The second straight match where a red card was issued to the opposition. The second straight match where you get that advantage very, very early on. And the second straight match where you're really unable to capitalize. Now, today was almost worse because at least against San Jose on Tuesday, you scored right after going up a man. So you got that goal you were looking for. Unfortunately, they gave it away near the end. Tonight, you're just unable to find that goal at all. A lot of that is credit to Tim Melia. He stood on his head for Sporting Kansas City. A lot of that is credit to the toughness and tenacity of Sporting Kansas City. As a pain in the ass as they were over the course of the match, they did what they had to do to grind out a point. But for me, the biggest issue, and that leads into my second point here, is that we have reached a code red situation as far as goal scoring goes. Sample sizes, if there's a small sample size, there's, I wouldn't say excuses, but you can reason with a lack of goal scoring. If it's just a few matches, okay, the goals will come. We're 20 matches in here. And while goals have come in certain matches, and this team went on a pretty hot streak as of a couple weeks ago, the loss of Robin Lod is looming large for Minnesota United. Without him, they just can't seem to consistently put themselves in position to find the back of the net or find the back of the net in general. Adrian Hunou, don't know what's going on with him. He may be pressing a little bit too hard. No more Ramon Abila. Juan Agudelo had a couple chances at the end of the match. Emmanuel Reynoso wasn't short of chances tonight, but nothing could go in the back of the net. And if you look at the goal scoring for Minnesota this season, a lot of that load has been carried by Lod, no pun intended. And without him, they just seem to really, really struggle even more than usual, finishing off in the final third, being clinical in the final third. That's my second thing. My third thing is, and I've mentioned this briefly, this is officially no longer the nicest rivalry in sports. I don't want to hear this rivalry called the nicest rivalry in sports anymore. I know that comes from two nice communities in the Twin Cities and Kansas City. I get that. But after today, the chippiness throughout, the pushing and shoving, the crowd getting into it as much as they did, It's no longer the nicest rivalry in sports. It's closer to the rudest rivalry in sports than it is the nicest at this point. So those are my three things. Again, if you have any big, strong takeaways from the match tonight, please go ahead and drop those in the chat. I would love to respond to those, whether you're watching on Twitter or YouTube. We have a few from Dave Valensky. Let me pick one of these here, Dave, for you. Just kind of general, we need to finish. And yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier. And you can't rely on one person to carry that load like Robin Lod has been doing over the course of the season. Because without him, they just seem to not be able to finish. And that's a huge problem. Dave Walensky also says need some of these players to come back. Finley is not a starter anymore. Yeah, we've said on the stream before that Finley, at least in my opinion, is much better suited as that spark plug off the bench. But when there are a lack of options, you'd be hard pressed to find a better secondary option as a starter than Nathan Finley. I mean, his pedigree in this league speaks for itself. Yeah, ideally you don't want to see him on the field for 90, but also it's not cringeworthy to me seeing him on the field for 90, if that makes sense. If you're like Dave and you have any feedback on the match tonight, feel free to drop those questions, comments, takeaways in the chat. But before we get to our game notes, as always, got to shout out our good friends over at 9th Street Soccer and Coffee. Love those guys. Derek and the team over there are awesome, providing opportunities to play pickup soccer, just an opportunity for the soccer community in the Twin Cities to get together in one place in one spot, get to know each other, have a great time. $35 unlimited pickup is a huge thing right now over at 9th Street. Their general pickup sessions, one-time sessions, are $5. But if you think that you're somebody who might want to play a little bit more often, and not keep paying that $5 fee every single time, you can do unlimited pickup for $35, which means you can beat as many of those monthly pickup sessions as you want. But also, and to me, this is the most important thing, even if you don't think that you would maybe take full advantage of the unlimited pickup option, this is an excellent way to support 9th Street Soccer and Coffee. Support a small, locally owned, soccer-centric business in the Twin Cities that is doing great things and really working their asses off to create a hub for the Minnesota soccer community to come together in a soccer environment. So I beg you, go check out this $35 limited pickup membership. Again, even if you don't think you'll take full advantage of it, it is an excellent way to support what the guys at 9th Street Soccer and Coffee are doing. Just go to 9thstreetmpls.com. You can also follow them on Twitter and Instagram at 9th Street MPLS. That is 9th, NINTH, Street, STREET, MPLS. Big thanks again to 9th Street Soccer and Coffee for being the sponsors of Post Loons. All right, so let's get into these game notes here. And we're going to start in the first half and start with an unfortunate occurrence for Minnesota United in the 6th minute as Bakaye Debasi picks up his second yellow card in as many matches after a strong challenge on Alan Pulido. And because it's his second yellow in 2 matches, he'll miss next weekend's match at Houston, which looms even larger based off the fact that they've dropped points in these last 2 matches. They've dropped 4 points. I think it's safe to say that this team has dropped 4 points in these last 2 matches. Houston is a team you should beat on the road, but you're going to be without Debasi, and who knows how the injury situation is going to play itself out in a week. Hopefully, this whole week, not having a midweek match allows players to get healthy and, at least allows a couple guys to get back into the rotation. But, that match is going to be huge now. Considering these last couple results, and you're going to be without Bakaye Debasi because he picked up his second yellow card in 2 matches. 10th minute, Tyler Miller comes up huge as Gadi Kinda fires one from the edge of the box, but Miller was able to make the save. He was excellent tonight. I feel like I'm a broken record talking about Tyler Miller, but he has just been excellent in goal for Minnesota United this season, and he came up huge in a couple instances tonight to keep Minnesota United within striking distance of getting those 3 points. 17th minute, Adrian Unu picks the pocket of SKC keeper Tim Melia, but unfortunately, he didn't necessarily have the numbers forward that he needed to really take advantage of that situation because This was a situation where Minnesota United was attacking already. SKC was back in defense too. Basically, after Anu picked Milia's pocket, he just tried to lob it over him, sort of try to cross it over Milia's head, but Milia was able to reach up and get his hands on it. So nothing came there, but could have been a dangerous situation for Sporting Kansas City. 21st minute, this was what we thought was going to be the big turning point of the match. Remy Walter goes studs up on Reynoso, hitting him right in the midsection, and is shown a straight red from the official, giving Minnesota yet another man advantage early on. Taylor Twellman on the broadcast had a lot to say about the process, how you can always go to a yellow card first and then go to VAR to make it a red, and how that might be the better process, just the way that VAR operation works right now. To me, though, this is a no-brainer red card. If there's a situation where you're going to pull a straight red, like, I have no problem with the official pulling a straight red here. And that's, from an objective standpoint. I'm trying to come at this with an objective standpoint. If that happened the other way, where Emmanuel Reynoso did the same thing to Remy Walter, I would hopefully be saying the same thing. I consider myself pretty objective across the board. So that's, I have no problem. I disagree with Twellman there. I have no problem with the red. I think the red was well-deserved. I think it was an obvious red card in the run of play. Now, Twellman also said that VAR did say that the official should have taken a second look at it. Now, I don't know what exactly that means, and so I might be looking kind of dumb here, but they took a second look at it. Now, are they saying he should have taken a look before pulling the red? That's probably what they mean. But at the same time, he pulled the red. He was able to take a second look at it and keep the red card. I think it was an obvious red. I have no problem with that red card there. And here you go. Minnesota United, 11v10 after 21 minutes. You now have 69 minutes and change to, find a goal when you're up a man. 30th minute, Reynoso puts one right in the breadbasket for Finlay. I mean, this should have been 1-0 here. Right in front of goal, but somehow the winger isn't able to finish it off. 33rd minute, Words, and this is where things really start. I mean, things got a little bit chippy after the red card, but the 33rd minute is when things really started to escalate. Words and a couple pushes are exchanged between Unu and Milia, some of the other players from both teams get into the mix. And then 7 minutes later, Milia and Unu were not done. They come together again. This time, the SKC keeper just bodies Unu off the ball. A little aggressive there for my liking, but either way, I guess fair play across the board. And so that was really it for the first half. You end the first half 0-0 after going up a man in the 21st minute. You had a few chances, and you think, okay, this is in the second half. This is the opportunity for Minnesota United to turn it on and really grab a hold of this game. And aside from putting the ball in the back of the net, they really did. And for me, like, it's just when finishing is really the only issue, I have a hard time looking at where to point the finger, right? When you do everything up to that point of the final third so incredibly well in the midfield, everywhere else, but the ball just avoids the back of the net at all costs, it's really tough for me to place blame on any one person, player, coach, whoever. And so I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there because I think outside of the lack of goals, outside of the lack of finishing, Minnesota United did what they had to do, did everything they possibly could have with that man advantage. Taylor Twellman said on the broadcast, and I'm going to reference him because he does say a lot on the broadcast, and he stirs the pot a little bit, so it's worth responding to and noting that he said that Minnesota really failed to take advantage of the opportunity. And from a goal-scoring standpoint, he's right. Like, from a goal-scoring standpoint, he's absolutely right. But it seems like he just meant in their overall approach to having that man advantage and their overall mindset with the man advantage. I didn't see that today. I saw a team who saw they had the man advantage and went balls to the wall to try to get a goal. The 23 shots. How can you tell me a team didn't go out and really, try to take a stranglehold on the game and take advantage of that 11v10 opportunity when they had 23 shots, 7 on goal? I don't know. That's that, that I disagreed with that comment from Twelman. I'll just say that. 48th minute, Reynoso finds some space on the ball at the top of the 18, lets a left footer rip. Great left footed shot from Reynoso. Beats Melia, but bangs off the post. 52nd minute, Unu gets a feed from Reynoso after the number 10 does some excellent work to open things up. I thought Reynoso really was the featured player for Minnesota United tonight. On these national broadcasts, they like to pick a player from each team, or maybe a player or two from each team, and really feature them throughout the match. Kind of always revert back to them, circle things back to them. Reynoso was that for Minnesota, and he stepped into the spotlight, and I thought he played extremely well. Yeah, he was a little bit sloppy at some points, but at the same time, without Robin Lod, Reynoso is going to spend much more time on the ball. Like, without Robin Lod in the lineup, Reynoso is going to have the ball at his feet. I wouldn't say exponentially more, but I would say probably twice as much. Now, I would love to see the stats on that. I don't necessarily know where to find stats and time on the ball, but I would have to manage. I would have to think that when Lod is out of the lineup, Emmanuel Reynoso at least spends 1.5 times on the ball than he normally would. So when that happens, you're going to have more opportunities to be sloppy. But I thought for the most part, and for a vast majority of the match, Reynoso played awesome. But sends a nice one into Unu here. And Unu takes a one-time left footer, right footer maybe, and it's deflected by an oncoming Melia, who closes the distance well. Hard for me to blame Unu here. He did everything he needed to. Melia just did an excellent job sort of seeing that play develop, and his instincts were really, really good there, the Sporting Kansas City keeper. And he closed that distance well to stop that shot before it really had a chance to be dangerous. 64th minute, the Loons get extremely lucky. This was a heart-stopping moment if you're a Minnesota United fan. Saloy gets free on a counterattack. This is, to me, this is like similar to hockey when a team has a 5-on-4 power play and the other team just springs free. And he sends this is like an easy pass. This is 2-on-1, right? You run these drills in practice. It is an easy pass to an unmarked, wide open Kyrie Shelton deep in the box. And somehow, some way, Shelton just duffs it. And the shot just goes well wide. And you are breathing a huge sigh of relief if you're a Minnesota United fan. I mean, it feels bad enough coming out of this match with 1 point. Can you imagine coming out of this match with 0? The Heath out hashtags would be almost trending on Twitter, I would think, if they came out of this match with 0 points and SKC somehow found a win. 67th minute, Dabasi catches an SKC clearance on a half volley outside the box, rockets it towards goal, but it's high and wide. 68th minute, nice pass in the box to Dotson, who turns and fires a shot. It's saved, but Hunu's on the end of the rebound, and his follow-up is just right into Melia's grasp. Today, this match was really a microcosm of Adrien Hunu's tenure for Minnesota United so far. I want to say tenure. He's been here, 2 months, 2.5 months? But his first few months in a Minnesota United uniform, this match really kind of encapsulated it. He's had his chances, and he has a goal-scoring pedigree. I mean, there's a reason why they brought him in, right? There's a reason why he's the DP. But he just has not been able to find that finishing touch. And that happens sometimes. Look at what happened with Robin Lod, right? Look at what's happened with so many players who have come into Minnesota from into MLS, especially from international. It takes some time to adjust. I'm not trying to make excuses for Adrien Hunou. He should have a few goals, a handful of goals on the board in Minnesota United uniform. He absolutely should. But I don't think we should be near to a point with Adrien Hunou where we're pulling the ripcord, where we're giving up on him as the starting number 9. I don't think we're even close to that situation with Adrien Hunou. He's had some really struggles. It happens. But consistency is what brings the most out of somebody. Continuing to show someone that I'm putting my faith in you. You're our guy. We know that you're going to come around, and we know that you're going to turn this around. You have the capability. You've shown the capability. You work hard in training. Just because that finishing touch hasn't been there doesn't mean we see you as, having less value to this team. We know that you can score goals, and we know that you will score goals. As long as he is instilled with that continued confidence, I see no reason why he can't turn this around, you know, sooner rather than later. Again, that might be a super optimistic vantage point, and you may strongly disagree with that. I don't necessarily blame you, but that's kind of where I'm coming at that. 74th minute, Agudelo gets a free header on goal off a Reynoso corner. He doesn't get a ton on it, though. Melia is able to cover the necessary ground on the goal line to make the save. 77th minute, Minnesota gifted a golden opportunity. This time, Agudelo again. I mean, he's basically given the ball. I do not remember for the life of me who had this terrible turnover for Sporting Kansas City. But basically, they passed the ball to Agudelo. And he gets one-on-one with Melia, breaks free. But the SKC keeper, Tim Melia, my goodness, makes yet another huge save to keep it scoreless. He stood on his head for Sporting Kansas City today, excuse me. 87th minute, after Patrick Weah is fouled on a corner, on the counter, excuse me, Reynoso sends a great free kick into the box, which ends up finding the feet of Boxall, but his shot sails over the bar. And then the 90th minute, Unu taken down just outside the box, earns Roger Espinoza a yellow card, some pushing and shoving after the fact. Reynoso's free kick is straight into the wall. We had 5 minutes of stoppage. There were a few chances for Minnesota in stoppage. Excuse me. There was a really scary situation with Kai Dibasi and an SKC player. I don't have the exact name in front of me. I was rushing to get this set up for Post Loons, and I cannot remember for the life of me right now. It's escaping me who the SKC player was. But a coming together between them. They were both down for quite a while. Good to see both of them get up and carry on as well. But that was really it. And you end up 0-0 at home against SKC in your second straight match, having a man advantage for a large majority of the match. And that is disappointing if you're a Minnesota United fan. The XG, if you look at XG, 2.7 for Minnesota United, 0.8 for Sporting Kansas City. So that tells you that they did enough to create the opportunities necessary to put a few goals on the board, right? But it just didn't happen tonight. And so now we have to turn our attention to a week off, which, like I said, could be a great opportunity for guys to get healthy, for at least, hopefully a couple guys back for Minnesota. But you're also without Dibasi on Saturday because of yellow card accumulation. So while Houston, if you're going to face a team with one of your best defenders on yellow card accumulation, I guess Houston is the team you want to be facing. They haven't been great, but at the same time, you need to come away, even though it's on the road. You absolutely have to come away with 3 points. You need to get that swagger back. You need to get that confidence back that you had during that. What was it? I can't even remember now. It seems so long ago, but it really wasn't. I believe it was 14 unbeaten. It's like somewhere between 11 and 14 unbeaten for Minnesota at one point this season. You need to make up for lack of points today by maximizing points on the road. You're doing just fine at home. In a vacuum, a 0-0 draw against Sporting Kansas City, second in the West, even though it's at home, is not terrible. But circumstances dictate you should have gotten 3 points. So now you need to go into Houston, ideally beat the brakes off them, and get some confidence back, especially in the final third. No matter what happens on Saturday, you need 3 points. And you need 3 points pretty bad. So that is where I'm at. If you have any more questions or comments, please drop those in the chat. We will stick around for another couple minutes here on Post Loons. Thank you so much for joining us again. Christian Ramirez actually tweeted during the match that Minnesota was missing something. He's so good on Twitter. Christian Ramirez is so excellent at stirring the pot on Twitter. He loves Minnesota. Obviously, he always tweets about Minnesota, or I don't say always, but on a regular basis, he tweets about Minnesota. It's obvious he's watching the Minnesota United matches. There was a lot a lot of eyes opened in the offseason when Adrian Heath said Christian Ramirez would be the type of striker who could flourish in their system, right? That they currently have. He's doing awesome things in Aberdeen right now, by the way. Holy cow. He has had just a scorching start for them. That's so good to see him do that. And if he ever makes his way back to Minnesota, obviously they would welcome him with open arms, not just because he's, his standing with Minnesota United fans, but because he's really damn good. Like, he is, even in the time he's left Minnesota, he went to Houston, he went to LAFC, and now he's over in Aberdeen. I think he has gotten like a lot better even then. He was great. I'm not trying to take away from what Christian Ramirez did in Minnesota and how good he was with Minnesota, but I also think he has gotten so much better since he left, that he is somebody that I think even without his history in Minnesota, he is the type of guy that Minnesota would have their eye on in terms of potential players to bring in, especially considering a situation where you cannot score goals to save your life. So I thought that was interesting too. All right, looks like we don't have any more questions or comments, guys. So we're going to break here. Thank you so much for tuning into Post Loons, whether you're watching live or listening on the podcast afterwards. Thank you to Ninth Street Soccer and Coffee for being our main sponsors. Love those guys. Remember, hit up 9thstreetmpls.com to learn everything about them and how you can support what they do for the Minnesota soccer community. And we have a week off, no midweek. And we will catch you next Saturday for Post Loons, following a hopefully 3 points on the road against Houston. Have a great rest of your week.